Have you ever wondered how to break into biomedical science without an accredited degree or lab experience? Or perhaps you're curious about the career options in biomedical science beyond the lab? So stick around as I'll be sharing some valuable tips that will help you navigate this journey. Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. I'm really excited about this video on how to break into biomedical science. I'll be providing you with a practical guide for you to help you to decide about if you're considering a career in biomedical science. I've shared this in a previous video, so maybe consider this as an updated version on how to break into biomedical science. So biomedical science is an exciting field. However, it can be a bit challenging if you don't have an accredited degree or lab experience, or maybe you're new into this career and you're exploring biomedical science and what potential you might have in this career. So if you're new to this channel, in this video, I'm hoping that if you're a student who don't have lab experience and you're exploring your options in biomedical science, or if you're an international student or international applicant who are navigating how you can enter biomedical science and practice in the UK, or if you're a graduate who don't have an accredited degree like myself, I had that experience. Or maybe you're new to this, you're a career changer and you're exploring a career in biomedical science. So hopefully in this video, you will have at least an idea on how to break into biomedical science. So, like I said, what I'm trying to aim in my video in this new year of my YouTube channel is to simplify, break down things for you, because at the beginning of when I launched this channel and I started sharing biomedical science content, I realize there's a lot of information and it can be very overwhelming, even for myself when I try to break it down. Because as you know, if you're new to this channel, I'm a biomedical scientist, self-employed, and I create content as well. Also, I've published books. So my aim is to simplify the journey in biomedical science, and I've had the longest journey in biomedical science that you can think as an MLA and to qualify. And looking back, I realized there's a lot of information. Even now, even though there's so much information out there, it's very difficult to break it down. So now my aim is to break things down for you and make it easier for you, bite-size it for you. So there's a lot of content coming up, so stay tuned for that. So understanding biomedical science, there's three things. First, you need to know that this field supports diagnostics or disease diagnosis, and it's enhancing patient care significantly. So think of it, biomedical science is involved in health and disease and is part of disease diagnosis. Yes, it does involve lab work where we test, analyze and use innovative approaches in healthcare. And career options are not just lab, which I didn't know. It also involves non-lab work, and we're going to talk about that in the next video, about what options you have in terms of whether you want to end up in a lab or not. So stay tuned. So I know I might be repeating this if you've been a follower, but again, if you're new to this channel, just think of disease diagnosis as an ecosystem. You go to the doctors, you complain over symptoms, and the doctors will request for the tests and the samples, which will be sent together to the laboratory. This image, I always like to share it because it gives you a visual imagination or a visual explanation, illustration on what is it like. So we, as biomedical scientists, we directly work with patient samples and we are involved in disease diagnosis. So the doctors, in order for them to prescribe the right medication or in management of disease or treatment, then our work is essential to complete that cycle of disease diagnosis. This is just for you to give you an overall understanding of what is biomedical science, is to understand what is biomedical science. And in a previous video, we spoke about the difference between biomedical science and biomedical engineering. So hopefully you've watched that video if you're trying to decide. So now to the most crucial part of your career, if you're considering biomedical science: lab experience. And I personally believe whether you end up in a lab-based work or non-lab-based, I really think lab experience is the most important step in your career, because I will keep advocating about that, that it equips you with the right skills, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. However, how do you get the lab experience? Volunteering. We all had to volunteer. We all had to volunteer at the beginning of our career. I had to volunteer at my local hospital in London because that's where I was based. So the advantage of that is it will give you hands-on skills, which will help you to start your career and to know if it's for you or not. You will need to contact laboratories directly, whether by sending an email or cold call, because most jobs don't get advertised. That's something I have learned in the last couple of years. And also, if you can't, you can consider agency work. Some hospitals, they allow banking, which is you go through the hospital directly. So you work for the hospital and you go through the recruitment of that hospital directly. So one thing I want to explain about lab experience, the reason I advocate for that is because the skills that you gain in the lab, they will set you off for your career. There's amazing skills, and I always share this slide about biomedical scientists. The skills that you have, most of them are transferable skills, so they really help you when you try and progress in any career. In terms of applying, or if you're a student or you want to build your experience, I always share this slide about, it's something called speculative application, where you directly send an email to the lab manager or the head of department, and you basically pitch for yourself. You just say who you are, what you're studying, what you want to do. Keep it very simple, and that's it. And then if you don't hear from them in a week or so, they will, follow up kindly. You will show your interest. Most of them, they respond, but again, it really depends. But what I really think is most effective, that worked for me, is to cold call. I remember when I was at my lowest, when I was MLAing in a private company and I wasn't going anywhere, I called every hospital in London because I needed to stay in London. I called maybe 9 and I explained, I said, my name is Aida Noor, my name is Aida, I'm an MLA, I'm trying to do my portfolio, would you help me to work for you, blah, blah, blah. At that time I was willing to volunteer, and number 10 and 11 said yes. So whoever responded first, I followed up from there. So the one who said yes first, he asked me to send my CV, and then he asked me to come to the office. I was at my lowest. I was thinking of volunteering, and he said, why don't you consider bank? I didn't know what bank meant. So it's basically you working, so there's the recruitment department of that hospital. You apply through them directly, and then you work for the department when they need you. So for me, when I started as bank, and when there was an internal position, I applied and I got it. Unfortunately, it was part-time, so there was flexibility. So I remember I was doing Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday was overtime, until there was a merger, and then I ended up part-time until I qualified. So being part-time has helped me to do my portfolio to get qualified as a biomedical scientist. So cold calling, and up to this day, speaking to some staff, they got their first opportunity through cold calling. So don't underestimate cold calling. Just do it, because you never know, that person might be willing to, most of them, they want to see how you behave and how you work before they take you in. So don't underestimate that. Sometimes if you've got enough experience and you're new to the country, or you're waiting for your HCPC papers, you can go through an agency. You can either work as an MLA while your papers are getting sorted, or you even can work as an MLA working with an agency where you register, where it's locum agencies is called. So there are many options. You don't have to just apply for that position. You can always put your foot in and then start from there. So this is my favorite part. And unfortunately, it's the least spoken about skill. Networking and LinkedIn. Them two are very, very important. Not many people talk about it. I know universities now appreciate the importance of having a LinkedIn profile. So my advice for you would be start as early as possible. Don't do my mistake. Wait until you qualify as a biomedical scientist before you create a LinkedIn account. No, start doing that from as early as possible. Start networking, let people know that you're a student. And I love the fact that students connect with me on LinkedIn. Some of them, they ask questions, some of them engage, and I'm very proud of those ones, because I know how hard it is to be, out there. It's not easy. Even for me as an adult, I find it difficult. And use it in a strategic way, the way you communicate with people in real life, the same thing you do online. And I always talk about digital presence in my talks, how important it is about ethics and how you behave, etc. So make sure that you engage with professionals, not just recruiters. Everybody equally. Let people know. It all comes under branding, and I've spoken in the previous videos about LinkedIn branding, networking, so make sure you watch them, because that will give you an idea on what it's all about. And don't be a passive user, be an active user. Don't just like, repost, and no, engage. Have a voice, comment, because, and let people know where you are you studying, are you seeking, are you, any challenges you have, if any questions you have. People are very, very responsive. They will respond. I benefited so much from being on LinkedIn, from networking, and that's why I shared my journey, and still there's more to come. But as a student, don't think, or as an early career person, or new, or changing, whatever stage you're at, make sure that you are proactive. Don't think that don't be a passive user. That's all I want to say. And again, check my other videos just to give you an idea, because I think I've spoken about it in stepwise on what you need to do. And connect with me on LinkedIn. I talk about this a lot, but be active. It's very important. Networking, LinkedIn, people don't talk about them, but that's how you get your next opportunity. So we spoke about what biomedical science is, or an overview. What I want you also to appreciate is the roles in biomedical science. You've got MLAs, or medical laboratory assistants. That's who work in sample reception, or the ones who process the samples that get sent to the laboratory, or the ones who book them in. I spoke about that in details on what work they, and what, how their work is in previous videos. So make sure that you check them. Samples, they come in, they get labeled, booked, processed. That's where the MLAs do the work. BMSs, sometimes certain benches, they get involved in booking in and all of that. So that's the MLAs. Biomedical scientists, they do the tests, the investigation, the interpretation, the reporting. That's what the BMSs, or biomedical scientists, do. And both roles, they work together in the lab. There is collaboration. So teamwork is very important. Communication is very important, because the process needs to run smoothly. The MLAs have to do the work correctly in order for the BMSs to do the work correctly. If the MLAs don't do the work correctly, mistakes will happen, patients will die. So very, very important in that. And I always speak about the two different roles. In previous video, I spoke to you. In previous video, I explained that don't underestimate the role of MLA. So even if you work as an MLA and you're waiting for your papers, for example, or you're building experience, it will give you loads of skill sets that will make you become the best biomedical scientist. And I'm speaking from my own experience. I've worked for years as an MLA in both private and NHS, and that has given me the best skill sets for me to excel as a biomedical scientist, also both in private and NHS. And I'm glad I've had both of them, experienced both of them, and I've shared in previous video about them, and I always share that table. But check the video where I spoke about NHS and private if you're trying to decide, because I speak about that extensively, and I think I've shared it also in an article on my LinkedIn. But definitely I would recommend that you watch the video both, and we're going to elaborate further about this anyway. So if you're an international applicant, I get loads of questions about international application, and I know there's some amazing videos out there that spoke about this process. Some of them who are international biomedical scientists themselves, and they've shared their journey. but I thought since I'm getting questions as well, I can share from my own perspective and from my own observation and research and asking around to all the international BMSs. The first thing I would want you to appreciate is to contact the HCPC directly, because they will tell you the exact registration, specific registration guidance and requirements. Also, the IBMS will give you the correct information, and it's a fantastic for resources. So at least you will need to know if you need to top up. Say HCPC got back to you and they told you you need to top up modules, etc. That's IBMS is the go-to for you in order for to know what qualifications you might need, or if you need to, experiences. We're going to talk about that further in a new video about the international applicants, so stay tuned. And very, very important too, you have to make sure that you get all your documents ready, all your transcripts stamped and signed by the university, so that when you need to apply, you've got all your paperwork ready. So whether you're a student or you've just finished and you're considering, get all your paperwork ready, because you will need it when you start applying. And we're going to look at the application for international. I've touched on that in previous videos, but we're going to look at it in a simplified version or an updated version. So stay tuned for that. So if you're an international applicant, HCPC, IBMS, your academic documents, these three, you need to make sure that you have all of that in order. So what are the career paths beyond the lab? Because I remember, I remember when I used to use it as an icebreaker in my talks. When I spoke at Kingston University and DMU University, I started this at the beginning where I said, how many of you want to land in a lab job? And I was expecting a show of hands, maybe one or none. So that made me realize, and I did speak about in one of my videos about the lab and non-lab. It was totally new to me. So there is a misconception. If you're a biomedical scientist or you studied biomedical science, you don't have to land in a lab job. That was a misconception. You can end up in a non-lab role, and we're going to talk about that in the next video in detail. Just to give you an overview, this is not all of the roles, but just to give you an idea, you can work in healthcare communication, where you use your science knowledge to create engaging content, like what I'm doing now. I'm sharing content and I'm simplifying complicated things to you, and that's what I do in my talks and webinars. You can work in regulatory affairs, ensuring compliance with law and standards in healthcare. Medical writing, you can craft documents that communicate complex medical information clearly, and there's more other roles that you can work in, not just in the lab, and we're going to talk about that in the next video, so stay tuned. So that will give you an idea that you don't need to end up just in a lab. Yeah, I wish someone told me that in the past, actually. I will always say, start in a lab. It gives you a good skill set. It will give you the resilience later on in life. Just expose yourself to the lab and see what it's like. It might not be for you, but try and experience it. That's all I want to say. So this is also one of my favorite aspects or point I want to make. And it's one of the things that I had to learn the hard way up to this day. The job market is changing and you need to adapt to it. It's evolving. The reason being is technology. Technology is revolutionizing every industry, including health. As you know, AI, automation are transforming jobs, job roles and tasks. I was fortunate enough when I started my career in microbiology infection sciences. I've worked in an automated lab, and microbiology is the last discipline that has been automated. No, we still have manual work, but it's fully automated lab, and I was very lucky actually, because that made me love technology. I love technology. I'm with technology, and I use it in my daily life, even when I'm preparing content. So because of that, the impact of technology, you have to appreciate that you need to continue learning. You need your CPD, which is continuous professional development. You need to ensure that your career is relevant and you continue growing. Gone are the days where you just land on a job and you just do the same thing day in, day out. No, that's not the way it is now, not anymore. And the sooner you accept this, the better. That's all I can say. And with that in mind, you need to embrace flexibility and be adaptable, that this evolving environment will keep changing. So the sooner you accept this, the better, because it's super competitive now and it's always going to be changing. So and I mentioned it in a previous video that industries will integrate one way or another. That's why always have your skills up to date, and we spoke about that in a previous video. So yes, the job market will keep changing and you need to adapt. So embrace flexibility, adaptability, continuous learning. I myself did that myself. When I started my journey as a biomedical scientist, normally you would specialize, but I already did my master's in medical microbiology, so I was looking into doing something else. So I did healthcare management, a postgraduate study in healthcare management, and that was the best decision that I've made, because I was thinking of, developing, growing, let's say. But then when I resigned from my full-time job and I explored the world outside the laboratory and I became self-employed, I realized I can do more and I can learn more. And that's when I realized, I appreciated that the job market is changing and you have to be adaptable. You have to be learning continuously. So that leads me to the next point. We spoke about the importance of professional development. That will lead to the importance of personal growth. When I was trying to qualify to become biomedical scientist, that journey itself was professional growth, and that led to my own personal growth. And then I published my first book by Aida, Noor Thoughts, and then I realized, personal growth is just as important as professional growth. So the advantage of that, and again, I'm sharing all of this with you guys from my own personal learning. So this is not just information that I'm delivering to you guys. This is my own reflections and my own observation and experiences. So the advantage of personal growth, it gives you resilience to any setbacks that you might have. So that will enhance your strength and determination to succeed. You will never be challenged because you know where you are and you know where you stand. So you become resilient. But very important to stay consistent, because that will lead to a lasting progress and success in your career. Because continuous learning and being consistent, that will keep you, ahead of the game, because you've got that vision. And always stay curious, don't settle. Embrace continuous learning, embrace gaining new skills. For example, when I started one of my career breaks, because now I can't say how many career breaks I had. So when I qualified, I took a short career break, unintentional, and then then I worked as a biomedical scientist, and then I resigned from the full-time job. Then I took a career break because I wanted to sort my life out, like I said. I realized that it's so important to continue, learn new skills. So I exposed myself to digital health. I realized, at that time I was discovering. Then I realized there's a course that I stumbled upon called Digital Health on Coursera, and it was free. I didn't have to pay for that. And then I realized, there's more to it. There's digital health, there's automation, there's this. So being curious and trying to find out. I know it's difficult when you're working full time, but maybe sometimes when you take some time off, even during your holidays, or you take a break, take a day or two, just reflect on your journey, see where you are going. That will give you time. You don't have to take a career break like myself. But for me, I found it very challenging when I'm working full time, especially with all the shift work and all of that. It was very difficult. But now, if I'm advising you and you're in the middle of studies, or you're working, or you've got certain commitment, just dedicate a day or two, just sit there, just reflect. And I always say journaling is very important. One of my talks, so I always say two things. One of them, always have a journal. you don't have to journal every day. For example, I journal weekly now because I can't do daily. I used to do it daily, but I make sure that I do weekly, monthly, quarterly, every 6 months, every year. So if you do a little journal or reflect on a weekly basis, or when you take time off, just take a day or two, reflect on where you're going, what's going on. And to be honest, the curiosity will become part of your life. You will develop that system where you look for opportunities, look for things here and there. It becomes a habit. So it's not an overnight thing. It will take time. It's a process. So don't feel like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. But I'm telling you from my own experience, it started slowly by adding little changes, and then it becomes part of your life. That way, for me, the last couple of years when I started my journey, when I became, I think after, when I started my biomedical science journey, I was because I've gone through the professional growth, the personal growth, which I mentioned in my first book, to become biomedical scientist. That's when I was like, nothing can change me, nothing can challenge me, because I know where I stand, I know where I am. And then I started studying, and then I started exploring, and then COVID hit, and I reviewed my life. And then the second book, I realized creating your dream career and all of that. So it becomes a process. And now I'm on a new journey. I'm in a career break. I go month by month. I have an idea on where I'm going, but then again, I've got that resilient mind. But like all of you, I have anxiety here and there. Sometimes I feel demotivated. I'm a human being. So what I want you to appreciate is it's a process. It takes time. Just start. So my final advice to you, or call to action, I would say explore your options confidently. Understand what are the various paths that are available for you to lead you to succeed in biomedical science if you decide to pursue a career in biomedical science. Stay resilient and adaptable. That's not just in biomedical science, that's in every career, because that will help you embrace challenges, strengthen your capabilities and experience, and make sure that you engage and network. Engage with the community and networks, connecting with your peers. That will expose you to opportunities and insight in your career. So don't be an introvert. Talk to people, make that effort, engage, speak to people, because that's how you grow. We are social creatures, by the way. I know now people are on their phones, TikToking, but no, that human communication is just still as important. And I'm speaking from my own experience. Have your own network. For me personally, I have professional network, I've got personal network, so at least I've got best of both that's how you succeed. And don't hesitate to seek guidance or help. This is something I've learned when I was doing mentoring. When I was mentoring students, I realized I need a mentor as well. Up to this day, I have a mentor, by the way. It might not be direct mentor, but at least I know what to expect, and in the future, if I need advice, if I need to consult, etc. So this is very important because it will support you and direct you in your journey. So I used to find that very difficult to seek help and guidance, but no, I do. For example, let me give you a very little example. When I'm publishing my videos, I send it to all my friends and family so that I get feedback. This is how I knew what people want. So this is a little example about guidance. I remember as well when I was MLA, I used to make effort to speak to biomedical scientists who are self-employed locum, to know why they chose to become self-employed, what's their choices. And that's how it gave me an idea that when I become self-employed, I want to be one of them. I realized I was seeking freedom and flexibility, and now I'm sharing my story with you guys, why I chose self-employment, why I'm taking career break, and sharing my journey with you guys. So this is how you learn from other people's experiences. And the good thing about this platform, it's a great platform where people share their real stories, real experiences. So to end this session, I want you to appreciate these three things. Stay curious, continually explore opportunities in biomedical science to expand your knowledge. Make sure that you network effectively Building connections can open doors to unexpected career paths, not just in science but beyond science. Embrace challenges. Every obstacle is an opportunity for you to learn and grow in your career. So these three things are not just in biomedical science. I believe they are generic and I live by them. I'm always curious. I make sure that I network, whether online or in person. And challenges for me are opportunities. And the biggest example was COVID. When COVID hit, it made me review my life and my career. And at the end of it, I decided to leave a full-time job and explore my options. And I became self-employed. I've taken career breaks. I've explored other career options that I have. So I hope from this video you will have an idea on what is it like to break into biomedical science and hopefully beyond. So yeah, until the next video, keep shining, keep inspiring, and see you next time. So this is just to test that the microphone is doing what it's supposed to do, and I'm just checking. Now we need to present this. I just prefer this to be on this side, so this is only to test. Okay, breaking into my mixer already. This microphone is causing a lot of anxiety. Right, we're ready to go. Right. I decided to record now because I'm committed to make sure that this is done properly. Good lights. Yeah. Right, just to test the sound. All okay? Let's go.